Production funding is brought to you in part by A. Reddix and Associates, a healthcare management consulting firm bridging the gap between healthcare policy and the community through education, training, and outreach. Find out more at ardx.net. Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Welcome to Another View. Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, LinkedIn, Plaxo. Is your head spinning yet? These are social media sites, lots of fun to use, but can be misused if you are not careful. So tonight, we're taking you to class, Social Media 101, to help you learn how to use social media properly and how to protect yourself and your children in cyberspace. Please welcome Ed Sykes, communications coach for the Sykes Group and all-around technology guru. Welcome to the program, Ed.
Thank
how you doing?
Barbara. I am so glad to be here
I am
with you.
so glad you are here because I need help.
And a lot of you're not alone.
No. But social media all of a sudden seems like it's just everywhere. Everybody's talking about, are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? And there seems to be, from the young people's perspective, no big deal. There's a middle group that are like, I'm not touching it. I don't want anything to do with it. And then you have some seniors who are like, hey, this is pretty cool. So where's the continuum?
Well, it depends on the social media site that you're talking about. A lot of people thought when Twitter first came out, it was all young folks on it. Well, it turned out after they did surveys, we were on it. We were the majority of the people that were on Twitter and making connections out there. So the great thing about this is that with social media, it's a community. I always talk about it's a community that allows you to connect to people, connect your business to people, let other people know what you know, what products you have, what information and what experience you have. And it's wonderful. It could be used for good, or it could be used for bad.
Now, let me ask you, and we're going to talk primarily tonight about Twitter and Facebook. Is there a difference in terms of messaging or in terms of use between the two?
It's a different style. It's a different makeup. With Facebook, it's more robust, so you can actually put videos on it, audio on it. You can hold longer discussions. With Twitter, the biggest difference is that you have 140 characters in which to do your message. So you have to be clear and concise. So that's the big difference between the two. Now, here's something that a lot of people don't know about Twitter is that there are applications that allow you to do mini videos, mini audios on Twitter also. So it's coming around as far as a more robust social media, but Facebook is really the place to be.
Facebook is the big one. Yeah. All right, well, let's start with Facebook. Can we go take a look? I know you've got your computer here, and we can pull up a full screen of what you're looking at. And we're talking about ways to set privacy, because just because you're on Facebook does not mean you have to share all of your information with everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Matter of fact, Barbara, one of the biggest things I ask people to do, if they're going to use Facebook, make sure that's the first thing they do is their security settings.
So go to that page there.
Well, I'm right here. And as you can see, there's a variety of information that you can share. Your birthday, you'd be surprised how many people have their full birthday on Facebook.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops. Are you one of? Well, here you go. We can take care of that for you. So you have a variety of different settings where you can do everyone. You can do friends and friends, only friends, and you can do your own customized setting. So that's the thing to do. The first thing to do when you go on Facebook is go to your security settings. Now, not only go to your security settings the first time, but I would say every 2 weeks, because Facebook is continuously changing the security codes.
So you can continuously update.
Yes.
And you should.
And you need to be diligent about staying on top of your own security.
Okay. Can we go to the home page of Facebook?
Sure.
Or I guess you have your page pulled up, is that right?
Absolutely.
Now show me where exactly to go find the security settings.
Okay. So you go to account, click down, and then you go to account settings, or excuse me, privacy settings. All right, and then there you go. You have your personal settings, you have contact information, friends, but for this discussion, it's the first one.
Okay, and that takes you to, and that allows you to decide who gets to see what in terms of your profile?
Right. In terms of your profile, your information, your conversations, the information that you put on your wall, you know, that needs to be, when you communicate on the wall, well, how many people do you want to see it? Do you just want your friends? Do you want their friends to see it? Do you want everybody to see it? So these are very important points to really take a look at when you first go on Facebook and continue to.
Let's talk about some of the practicalities also, because a lot of times, Another View has a fan page, which we're going to show them how to sign up for that fan page, absolutely. But we have a fan page. I have a personal page that I use more for work-related things, though. But I'm always getting so-and-so wants to be a friend, and this one recommended that person,
right,
etc.
Right.
If you decline those, are you being rude? Talk about this little etiquette part.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just reading an article, and they were debating the same point. And what this particular article suggested is don't deny them right away. Just let them sit in your box, because a friend that you may not want to be friends with today, maybe 2 months down the road, you may want to be friends with. So if you leave it in your box and just say, don't do anything with it, then there's no negative effect, there's no positive effect. It just sits there. So getting back to your point, and I love what you're saying, because you have a fan page and you have a personal page. I always recommend people to separate the two. You have your fan page, but I can see why your personal page has some business in it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. For the average user, I would recommend that they separate their personal from their business, and that's by doing it with the fan page. Yeah, fan page. So
make their business the fan page.
That is correct.
Okay, now explain to people what is the difference then in terms of what you get?
Well,
or what you can post.
So the fan page, anybody can basically come to your fan page. So that's basically what it comes down to. Think of it as your one-page website, and you're promoting either a product, service, or cause. There's a lot of people that use their fan page to promote a cause. We had a call in the other day that was talking about biking on Shore Drive, and they have a fan page.
So if you want to be able to bike on Shore Drive, you go connect on that fan page. You connect with others who have that same interest.
Absolutely.
Can we go to Another View's fan page?
Of course.
Can we pull that up? We like this, and I want everybody out there to watch, because I want you to become a fan of Another View.
There we go.
There it is.
There. Okay, so beautiful. So you have your fan page? Oh,
yeah, and I was going to say, each week we post what's going on. Now they're going to find out a little secret, because we do tape ahead. So I haven't put this show up there yet, but it will be.
Well, and here's the
next week. But we try to encourage people by sending out the information. Hopefully it's a topic that will connect with them.
Right.
And then that way they hopefully will join.
Well, join another View, and the thing is, they can send their questions based on what they saw on this show.
Absolutely.
So we can continue this conversation even after the show.
Absolutely, and we plan to do that. One of the producers wanted to know, is it if you decline someone's friendship, does it hurt their feelings? I mean, do they know? Do they get a note saying, Barbara declined your
That's a real good question. I don't think they do know, but it's something that
they also don't get a message back saying so and so accepted your request either.
Well, they get a message back that says you are confirmed.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So you
if
do
you
know.
Confirm them.
Yeah. In the positive, you get a message back. But on the flip side, it may just sit out there, and you never know that they declined you. So.
One of the things that people are doing, employers are doing more and more, is going to people's personal Facebook pages as they are doing their background investigations and so forth. So, are there certain things that you tell people, do not put this on your Facebook page?
Well, you don't want anything that would be negative on your potential future. Remember, information that's on the internet lives forever. In most cases, it will live forever.
Say that one more time, because I really want young people to understand that.
Well, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it seems like they don't understand. And when I discuss this and we talk about it in different venues, they think, oh, well, it's my private page, so it's private. Nobody should be looking at it. Well, guess what? Everybody's looking at everything on the internet. Unless you have your security settings right, people can find it. They can just Google and find things about you. So what you put down on that party that happened on Friday night, you had a big jug of wine that you were going to put up to your lips, and somebody took the picture of you doing that and tagged you in that picture. Guess what? Now the employer sees that.
So now talk to us a little bit about this tagging thing, because I find that I get messages saying so-and-so tagged you on a picture that they took from an event that I may have been or whatever. So I'm not necessarily connected to them outside of that picture.
They recognized you in the picture,
yeah.
right, and they identified you in the picture. Now, there's one of the etiquette laws that I always talk about, tag your it only if you want to play the game. So what I talk about is that don't tag anybody ahead of time. Go to them and say, do you want to be tagged in this picture before you actually tag them?
Okay. But there's no way, now, is there any way to stop someone from tagging you?
You can untag it. You can be untagged. But if you don't necessarily know besides that message, now who's checking their message every single day and, getting on Facebook and all those type of things? Well, it may fall through the cracks. So all of a sudden, and we would have never imagined that with Barbara Ham Lee, that there's a picture where you're having a bad day and then now they tagged you. Well, now it's out there on the internet, and now you've got to do due diligence to get, to untag yourself.
If you had a picture up there that was questionable, and you took it down, can people still find it on the internet, or can it still be found?
And that's a real good question. Depends on whether it's Facebook or some other website or whatever. Once it's out there, it's really hard to disappear. Now on Facebook, it may come down and you may never see it again.
On Facebook?
On Facebook. But if you're in another medium and you take the picture down, now somebody may have grabbed onto that information in the meantime. If it was a picture, let's say in a press release, well, they may have grabbed that information and it's gone to another site now. Even though you took that picture off your site, it may be on this site, that site, a variety of different sites that is hard for you to track down. So that's what I'm saying. Once it's out there forever.
For someone who has not tried it or all they've heard are the negative stories about it, what would you tell them? Would you tell them to become a part of the Facebook community or the Twitter community? And if so, why?
Absolutely. And it's with caution. And what I tell people when we're talking about, the different things to watch out for. Now, Barbara, you're sitting in your house and somebody comes to your front door, knocks on it. You don't know who this person is, but they say, hey, Barbara, listen, I'd like to take a little money out of your pocket, your bank account. And also, I'd like to show you some pictures that your kids shouldn't be seeing. Now, what would you do at that point?
Kick them out of my house.
Absolutely. You wouldn't even let them in the house. You slam the door in their face.
Exactly.
But we're not even doing that on the computer. So when we get on the computer, there are people that are doing that to us every single day unless we take precautions. So answering your question, when you go to these different sites, it's very powerful as far as what you can do. And it goes back to what I was talking about before with community, because you're connecting with old high school mates in college and family members. And I always say Facebook is great for people you never pick up the telephone for.
That's
right?
true.
So, and I've done that many, many times where I've just never had time to pick up the telephone because that's a big commitment. But on Facebook, we go back and forth and we reconnected again. So when you do Facebook and Twitter and some of these other sites, go in and, like I said before, be cautious about what you're putting out there. Think about it. What is the end result? And I always ask people, what is the end result of you going on Facebook or Twitter? And then work backwards from there as far as the type of information you want to do. Twitter has a great tool that a lot of people don't know about. It's called List. So you can segment who gets certain types of information within Facebook. Also, Twitter does have a listing service in it too. So you're not looked at as a spammer. If you send the same generic information out to everybody, I don't want to play Farmville.
Right, I don't either. Sorry, all my Facebook fans.
That's right.
I don't want to play Farmville.
That's right.
And I always hit ignore.
Right.
And I'm hoping I'm not hurting people's feelings. But I don't have time.
Right.
To really get into that. If you are starting a page, you're a teenager, you're a young person, younger than teenage years. What are some key security areas would you recommend that all parents do? First of all, should the parent be the one to sign on?
Ooh, that's a real hot issue. I would say, especially in Facebook, the question is, should I friend my child? Well, it's an educational.
A lot of kids won't let their parents friend them.
That's it. That's it. But I think what it really comes down is to education and telling them, just like what you do in the offline world, educate your child why you want to become a friend. there's things, even though they think they know everything, there's things that they don't know that we've been through that we can teach them and walk them through the process. So with Facebook or anything like that, sit down, educate, and continue to communicate what's going on.
But if you don't know, suppose you're one of the parents who hates technology and you don't quite know what to do, then where do you go to find a trusted person or friend to help them to navigate properly?
There's a variety of different sources. There's a variety of different books that discuss it. You can go online and get Facebook tools. There are various sites that dedicate themselves to Facebook and other social media that will explain it, especially for parents. You can go to your local university or higher education center and take just a quickie class on it. One of the biggest classes at the City of Virginia Beach Adult Learning Center is Facebook for seniors. Ah, yes. It's packed every time.
My dad has a Facebook page.
I was very proud of it. Are you friends though?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Is it possible to link your child's computer to your computer so that you can see what they're doing on Facebook at any time?
Well, you can, once they're your friends, you can see what they're doing on Facebook. So once you friend them,
befriending them,
right? So that's the key, is to get them to have you as a friend. I know one parent came up to me and said their daughter would not let them be friends, but then their friends, the daughter's friends, connected with the mother. So now it was cool.
So it just depends on who you want to have friends.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about some of the etiquette things that go along with the social media, but also with using technology in general. I've heard one person told me, please ask him about why someone will send a text and not sign their name. They make the assumption that you know the phone number that's coming through.
Okay, and that's in a variety of different technologies. They send the text and then they don't sign the name, or they ask to be connected with you and don't sign the name. Well, if I came up to Barbara Ham Lee on the street, you didn't know me, and I say, oh, you're Barbara Ham Lee, connect with me, please. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Exactly. So why would you do that on the internet? So a lot of times what you need to do is just due diligence as far as, who is this person sending this information to me? All right, is it worth it for me to reply, click back, because there's ramifications of that too, and see, is it worth it for me to do that?
So ultimately, you are the one who has the control.
Yes.
Whether someone, regardless of who's sending you information, it is strictly up to you as to whether or not you choose to accept it, respond to it, deal with it.
And I like what you said, because it really comes down to, it's all right for you to say no, and you have the right to say no if you want to.
How about writing emails in all caps?
Oh.
What does that mean? Tell people what that means.
That means you're screaming at the person. You should never write emails in caps. It doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people do it, and they don't realize that's what it means. But you're screaming at the other person. Now, emails entirely, one of the things I talk about is security. Is one of the points is there's no prince to give you $1 million in emails.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the Nigerian nightmare, I call it. So you get a lot of these Nigerian people in various parts of the world who are just there 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day looking to get information and money out of your pocket when they send these emails. And, you know, we're Americans and we're giving and the whole bit, so we want to help people out.
Exactly.
But there's no princes to save you. There's no one waiting on the other side of the world waiting to give you $5 million, you know, and they'll
so
give you a
if you see that, you really should just immediately delete it.
Delete it immediately. There's no good to that.
Okay. We've got about a minute left. What piece of advice would you give to people in terms of opening themselves up a little bit more to accepting technology?
I would say for folks across the board and folks who were not raised in technology, is possibly take a class, read a little bit of information, school yourself on it in the beginning, and then dive into it a little bit, a piece at a time. As we talked about here with Facebook, you know, one of the first things you should do is play with the security settings, and then start searching for friends and their friends, and you know, bring a community together
at a time. And ultimately, it's not going to hurt you.
No.
Right?
No. If you do those steps we talked about, yeah.
Yep.
And the main thing is security, security, security.
Okay.
So understand that.
And out of that, we're out of time. But thank you so much, Ed. And you know what? We're going to have you come back, and we'll take different looks at different parts of technology so that we can stay informed.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And up next, a conversation with poet and activist Nikki Giovanni. But first, here's what's happening in Hampton Roads. For decades, poet Nikki Giovanni has been calling it just like she sees it, whether anyone agrees with her or not. The famed poet was recently in Hampton Roads, and our Lisa Godley sat down with her for a candid conversation about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I think that anybody who encounters me, I hope they learn one thing. You have to think for yourself. You have to think. And there's probably nothing more pitiful on earth than people forming opinions in ignorance. So you ought to recognize what you do and don't know. And what you don't know, you should recognize the responsibility, the obligation to go find out something.
Nikki Giovanni has never been one to bridle her thoughts, and she wasn't about to start the day she spoke to Tidewater Community College students and faculty during TCC's annual literary festival.
I grew up in the age of segregation, and I'm glad it's gone. And I hope that my granddaughter grows up in the age of integration. We haven't gotten there, but we are at desegregation.
Over the years, Giovanni has used words to inspire, to educate, and to entertain. And it doesn't seem to matter whether she's addressing one person or the entire nation. She does it with a style and flair that is uniquely hers.
I'm a native Tennessean. I know what it is to be free. I am singing the country blues. I am whittling a wooden doll. I am underground mining coal. I am running moonshine. I'm a white boy with a banjo, native to West Africa. I am a black boy with a twang, native to the hills. I am smart. I am cool. I am unafraid. I am free. Yeah, I'm a native Tennessean.
But this native Tennessean is a Virginia Tech professor and a Virginia resident, and she knows the lay of the land.
There's a history here in Hampton Roads. What if the water had not been black water? And as you know, black water is sweet. But I wonder, I mean, that's why the Dutch man of war came looking for fresh water. They came here. I wonder how many of our students here, blacks or whatever, but definitely blacks should be doing it, that ever just took just went out and took some water and put it in a microscope and started to look and asked themselves, what are they looking at? Whose ancestor are they looking at? Because so many deaths have happened here. The waters have washed over them. What are we looking at when we look at a drop of water in the Hamptons Road area? When God made mountains, he made men and women who would need each other, who would respect each other, who would carry the word so that all men and women could be saved. When God made mountains, he said, "Come unto me, ye who need rest." And they called it Appalachia, the original word for peace.
Nikki Giovanni has never shied away from presenting the truth as she sees it, whether it's in a speech or in the more than 30 adult and children's books of poetry that she's written over the past 40 years. So is there any particular piece of Nikki Giovanni's work that Nikki favors?
I'm proud of all of my work, to be honest, and I think if you tossed my books up in the air and they came down without dates and covers, simply by picking them up you could read and see the progression. So, of course, the best is always yet to be. And some folks said, this cannot be done. And others said, yes, we can. And the clouds settled in that welcoming place between the ground and trees and sky, like smoke coming off of coffee pot, like steam coming from a kettle of pinto beans, like the rustic smell of a wood-burning fire at day's end, at home and at peace, like God has a rocking chair in the sky, smoking his pipe and being proud of his great Smoky Mountains.
Her advice to would-be poets and writers is read.
First thing, you should always have a book in your hand. I am always reading something. People think if you write, you should always be writing something. But you can go a long time without writing, but every day you have to read something. You have to learn something. You have to be curious about something.
Giovanni's curiosity draws her to the Weather Channel. She says it's important to her to know which way the wind is blowing.
As the winds blow, so go the seeds. And so most of us in the black community are going to have some relationship to the Bible, no matter how you cut it, right? And one of the things that the Bible teaches us is that people went down to Egypt. Well, why did they do that? Not because the Egyptians were nice people or because they were, charming and welcome. They went because the wheat was there. Right? So if you follow the seeds, you will see where people have to go, where we must go, and what we should do.
Thank you. God bless.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
She's an incredible woman. And that's our show for this evening. Be sure to visit Facebook and become a fan of Another View. Check out anotherview.tv, our website, and send us a note to let us know how we're doing. Next week, Women in Jazz. We'll see you next time for Another View.
Production funding is brought to you in part by A. Reddix and Associates, a healthcare management consulting firm bridging the gap between healthcare policy and the community through education, training, and outreach. Find out more at ardx.net.